Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to just hop right in. And we are going to start off with reading. So, for reading this week to teach our reading skills, we are using the Vanderbeeker series. We are officially on book 2. Yay! So, I am going to share with you how I'm going to use this book first to teach our skills. So, let me share my screen. So, this is our reading guide. And it has all of the skills, and there are several different levels that we teach from. If you've been planning with us, we have the basic level, the build level, and the meaning level. So let me go ahead and pull up. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So this week we are focusing on point of view and perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that skill, and we're on the build level. So we're going to do the build level this week, and then we're going to do we're in a basic level. We're going to do the basic level this week and then the build level next week. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of what this skill actually is. This skill is at foundational level. Children learn stories sound differently, dependent on who tells them. They learn to identify whether the narrator says I, which is the first person, or he or she, which is the third person. And they begin to notice how that simple change affects what we know and feel about the story. So we're going to be teaching that skill using this book. And as we go through it, we are going to use some of these activities. We're going to build it around movies and stuff like that. So I'm going to just give you a little briefing of what that will look like. So the first thing is the question. So we always go to the guiding questions after we read the chapter. We're going to say, who's telling the story? What clues help you figure out this? How does the storyteller feel about what happened? We're going to go through all of these questions, and these questions are helping them to identify the point of view or the perspective as well. We're going to talk about the questions about what we learned, questions for reflections, and she's also going to have text-dependent questions. So as we're reading the chapters, she's going to be able to respond to whose specific words are show who is speaking at this time in chapter 1. How does the narrator feel about the events? What might another character say differently? So we're going to be using this as mostly conversation when we first start reading. And then as we dig a little deeper, we got some more activities that we're going to go into. We also have activities that we're going to use. You can use one or you can use all. I only pick and choose the ones that I feel like is going to go whatever we're doing that week. So for instance, this one is 2 versions of the same story. You can tell it using a short family story, or you can tell it using a movie that you're watching or a TV show. You get to make it your own. So my daughter is watching The Descendants right now. And so what I did is I took this activity and I turned it into a chart. How did I know what chart to use? It's already in the guide. It's the point of view identifier organizer. So what we're going to be doing, there was a event in the movie where the character Red, she sacrificed her friend Chloe when they were playing like on this chessboard, and they both saw it from a different perspective. Red knew why she was doing it, but Chloe also felt differently because she was the one that was being sacrificed. So we are going to use that, the moment, what Red did, how Red felt, what Chloe experienced, how Chloe felt, and why they differed. So this is going to be our activity that we are going to use to introduce this. Before I introduce this, I will be modeling this using a situation from the book. So she can see how to do it before we actually go into her doing it on her own. So that's some of the activities we're going to be using. That's how we're going to introduce point of view and perspective. And then she is going to practice it using that activity. The next thing we do, same book, she also reads independent. So we have our independent days where on Monday she listens to it. I'm going to share this. I found this it's called Hoopla. It's free audio books of everything that's at your local library. So I was able to link to my local library so she can read the audio books for free. So on Monday's her independent day, she will be using the audio book to go through that. 2 days out of the week, she'll be reading independently, and half the chapter independently, and the other half will be a read aloud. So we'll be doing that. And then on Friday, she'll get to listen to another chapter, and that chapter will be on Hoopla. So she'll be listening to the audiobook. So that's another way we're going to be using this, and she's getting her reading in. We also are going to do a read aloud. So we're reading No Time to Be Done, Letters to Teenage Girls. Last week was on modesty. So what this does is it takes girls through like the everyday things that they go through, things that girls experience, and it shows them how to handle it from a biblical perspective. So last week was on modesty. I read this aloud to her because it's above her grade level. And I want to make sure that she's introduced to higher level vocabulary. So we read it, we talk about it, we talk about if she's ever had that situation and how to apply it to her life. So the next section is on bad influences. So great book. This is what we do for our read aloud. The next thing that we do is, let me unshare my screen while I'm sharing this. The next thing that we do is we have a weekly book report. Our book report is on the same skill, the same book, and it's just a way for her. Let me go through it. It has like this one's about point of view. It tells you what the skill is, what is point of view. It talks about the story. Who point of view are you exploring? She gets to choose the character. Why did you pick this character? And then it goes through all of the steps and questions to guide her through how to identify whose point of view it is, and then give details on why is this person's particular point of view. So it talks about what does the character think about Mr. Biederman at the start of the book? How does the character feel when they find out the family might have to move? What does the character say or do to show the feel? And then we use this throughout the week. It's not just a one-day thing. And then it goes in and it talks about the character that she chose, their point of view, what's Mr. Biederman's point of view, and then why are they different. But as you can see, the whole thing connects to what we are already working on in reading. How would you create something like this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share, I use the same prompt. And you can drop it in Google. You can drop it if you use ChatGPT, if you use Claude, whatever it is that you use. I use the same prompt to drop it in that AI system and tell it the book that I'm reading and the chapter that I'm reading, and it'll give you the book report. And I pulled this straight from the guide. So if you're on basic level, you're just going to share with them what's on the basic level. And you don't even have to highlight it. You can just like snapshot it and you can just drop it in and it'll build out that part for you. So if you want to do the book report, that's it. And you can stay on after and I can go through those steps with you if you want to see step by step on how to do that. Another thing, our writing, I'm going to talk about this a little more in detail, but right now I just want to show you our writing also connects to the reading lesson, the reading skill that we're working on. So we're working on point of view. Our writing prompt for the week is going to be on point of view, but I'm going to dig into a little deeper when we are talking about writing. The other thing that I'm going to dig into deeper as well is for social studies. So we do not teach social studies in science and isolation. Our social studies activity also aligns with what we are working on in reading and writing, but it may not always be the skill as in point of view. Sometimes the skills will align, but you can still practice your reading skills through your social studies, and I'll talk to you about that when I get to that. So that's all of the things that we're going to be doing for reading this week. We have our read aloud, we have the text, and then we have the movie that we will be using to practice our activities in addition to the book report and the writing being connected to it.